And wait, I didn't let Neci get hers off. Thanks for tuning in to a different day with Jah and
Neci.
Neci back off her nationwide tour, and she's back in here with us. So we got some topics in store for you. If this is your first time tuning in to a different day, what happens is basically we do it like wait, hold up. Hold up. Let me clear this up. You thanks for tuning in to a different day with Jah and
Neci.
Nici's here from her nationwide tour. She's back with us. Sorry about those technical difficulties, but if you're just tuning in, this is your first time tuning in to a different day with Jah. What happens is we basically take in Seeing Difference and we're bringing it to your radio airwaves. So thanks for joining us. If you're a first timer, you can tune in either to the Facebook live stream on Seeing Difference or 101.3 Roe FM. You could tune in to the TuneIn app, 101.3 Roe FM, WeVI, or of course on your radio dial. But thanks for coming. We got a couple topics for you. The first one we're going to get into, you want to drop it now, Neci?
Nah, let me not drop it right now. We're going to drop it real soon.
Okay. So we got some topics we're going to talk about during this past week. I don't know if you're very tapped into Virgin Island stuff, whoever you are listening right now, but a lot has been going on in the VI. And it is an election year, people. So on the morning show, a Bush Tina morning show with DJ SI and DJ, my favorite co-workers, I was trying to tell them about, voting. We had a conversation last week, me and Eunice, about voting and non-voters. And it wasn't trying to persuade anyone. It was just saying that they have rights to vote and rights not to vote as well. And what ended up happening, Miss Karen brought her fire and she inspired a non-voter. And I feel vindicated. Let me tell you why. Because there were some people in the comments who were throwing me under the bus, talking like I saying people don't vote and how does voting, not voting help and this, that, and the third, only for exactly what I was actually talking about to come true. What was I saying? I was saying that we need to listen. And Neci was saying it too. We need to listen to the non-voters and then address their concerns, which I think is fair. What do you think, Neci?
I think that's fair. I think that's the whole point of the system. It's the voice of the people. Is that's who you're representing. You have to be willing to hear the voice of your people.
Exactly. And I would think that'd be common sense if you're running, that you're trying to get these voting blocks. If you already don't have a voting block locked down, I would think that non-voters is a pool that you could dip into, pun intended, right? So Karen came on and she just turned this shit all around. This shit now looking for people to bring from her age group to vote. And they talking about clean sweep and stuff like that. Listen, we need to listen to people and stop dismissing them. That's what Seeing Difference on a Different Day is about. We want to hear from you. Roe Fm is here with the media. We pushing out content, but we also want to hear from the people that are listening because we all make up the community. One special thing about the Virgin Islands, and there's many, is that you literally live in the vicinity of the people that are supposed to serve. Y'all are all community members. You check what I'm saying? And it takes all of us, takes a village to do the work. Now, where did you stand on the non-voting thing from last week, Neci?
Stand in terms of the concept or what we were discussing?
What we were discussing.
Well, what we were discussing basically is that it is a honest reality that there is people who actually don't vote in our community that feel that they have their reasons why they don't vote. So, like you said, we were not trying to persuade anyone whom to vote for, but we wanted to address that there is a group of people in our community who don't vote for whatever their reasons are. And they have reason, if you think it's valid or not, it is their reason and they don't vote. But we need to have those discussions to see how we can address them to possibly have a bit better voter turnout. We just had an election back in August and it was a very poor turnout for that election. Why is that? We need to tap into the reasons why that's happening. People might feel like nothing's changing. Maybe the same people keep getting in, or maybe they're not making a more effective change and so forth. But we also discussed that maybe we're not understanding what those people's roles and responsibilities are, where we're not seeing what we think we should see. And that's also a reality, right? So
Thanks.
I think it's important to have the discussion. I think it's important that we keep having the discussion. Election cycle isn't over. We do have an election coming in November. It's important that we keep bringing the topic to our community. If we have information, if people want to share information that you want us to relay that to the community, we're more than willing to have the discussions with you guys. But it is a real discussion.
Exactly. And first, so as far as discussing things, I do wonder if sometimes we're afraid to approach certain topics. You know what I'm saying? Like politics, religion, children, and stuff like that are touchy subjects. So I wonder if we shy away from them. Lachelle Libert says, we there. She there in the chat. Hey, thanks for coming through, Lachelle. This is her first time viewing. She says she's been busy, but if you're in the chat right now, go ahead and share this live so other people on your page can see it. Tune in live on 101.3 Roe FM. We want to get the word out that a different day is here. And we want to hear from everyone in the chat. Like you can join the conversation live from the chat here, and we'll post it on screen in the Facebook live stream. And you know, it's just more engaging. Like I said, we're working on getting that call-in feature, but it requires some equipment. So just bear with us. We're gonna have video and audio one of these days. Just bear with us for right now. Obviously, if you're listening from the radio, you can't see us, but we gotta take a break to pay some bills. We're gonna be right back on a different day with Jah and Neci. So what we gonna do with this first topic, boy?
You're gonna be blows.
They got what?
Blows. You gotta have your background.
Hey, okay. So if you're in the chat, man, the first topic we're gonna touch on is a touchy one, and I know exactly why it's touchy. Tell you the truth. The first topic is gonna be on toxic mothers, toxic mothering, because it's a topic we don't talk about, but it's a prolific factor in our and many other communities. But this is actually not my topic, so I feel a little bit safer. This is Neci's topic. She brought it, so you get the woman's perspective, so I don't jump down my throat too much. This is Neci's topic, you hear me? Neci, why did you bring this topic?
Wow. That's crazy.
Is it?
It's definitely crazy, you know. These topics are just right. You know what? I got it. Okay.
Jerica says, oh, they're gonna fight y'all. You see, why we can't have these conversations and be real about it? Just like there's toxic fathers and there's absentee parents, there's toxic mothers too, man. So Neci, why did you bring this very controversial topic?
I don't think the topic's controversial at all. I think it's very much a real reality of people's experience. I think we have the discussions among ourselves, but are we discussing it on a larger scale? Maybe not. Mm-hmm. We're not really here to, put the blame on any one person, but it is a reality of some of us experience in our community. So let's talk about it.
And we always want to approach any conversation in a respectful, multi-tiered, multi-perspective type of way. So we would never like attack one side or another. Again, even though this is a different day, it's still seeing different team that's still running this thing. You check what I'm saying? And we try to see multiple sides and multiple perspectives. Keita Polian, hey, big up Keita on the track. I tried to see you on the Hot Ones thing, but like the live, maybe I got in late or something. I mean, I do believe toxic mothers exist. They have to. There's too many of them for us to discount the fact that they do exist. Adrena says,
Sure.
that's a good one. Am I a toxic parent? How can I recognize toxic parents around my kids? Interesting. We gonna do that when we come back. What do you mean by toxic? Neci, what do we mean by toxic?
I mean, we all know toxic is anything that you find is unhealthy for you, right? That can contaminate your mental, physical, emotional state. So that's really what it is. I know if we had said a toxic father or a toxic man, we wouldn't be posing that question because we all know what that looks like.
Exactly.
But the toxic moms do exist. It is a reality. And we're just going to talk about a few things that we're aware of and bring some awareness to the topic.
Adrena says mentally abusive in consideration of a child's perspective and emotional state. All of those things are unhealthy. So yeah, that's what we're talking about. If it's an unhealthy relationship to your child, then you are a toxic parent. You know what I'm saying? Like, here's my perspective. As a parent, I really do feel like no matter how well you try to raise a child, there will be something that child holds on to later on in life. You may or may not know it happened, or you did it, or they may have overheard a conversation or something. I feel like that there's always going to be something. So just prepare and get ready to deal with that later on. I could be wrong, but what do you think about that?
I mean, that's very true. Even a child that was raised in a fairly well two-parent home in a great community can find something in their childhood that they hold on to that was traumatizing or triggering for them. You just don't know what that might be, and we have to be willing to hear out our kids as well, even if we don't agree with them. But at least be willing to hear them out, because I'm sure, as you know, we were children, we always wanted someone to hear us out as well. So it's just a cycle that we go through, and we have to be willing to be the ear and the voice as well when these things start to manifest in our children and in our community.
Thank you. Hey, she got all the answers or something. Jesus. Jerica says, that's you. You get all the answers. The people champ in our ear. Crucian y'all need see in our ear hole. Hey, Jerica says, all jokes aside, this is a very real issue that isn't talked about much. Why? I have no idea. I actually have a great idea as to why it isn't. And we're going to talk about it when we come back on air. I'm able to see where multiple sides are coming from, usually. So I think it's a good topic. And that's all we be trying to do, you know, to get multiple perspectives. But it's like people take conversations like this so personal because they hear it and they filter it like through their personal experience. Like if I'm talking about my toxic mother and what I dealt with her, why are you getting upset about it? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my experience. I lived it. But what people are doing, they're listening to what you're saying. They filter it through what they've been through, their experiences, their emotions, and then they regurgitate things to you. And it's like, if their experience was great with their mom and they love their mom and it's all flowers and she's there for me, I never had no issues. Guess what they're going to do? They're going to come back in a way that's like, why would you feel like that? Like you're wrong for what you experienced.
Yeah, and that's what we do. We're very dismissive of certain experiences that our kids might have. Sometimes it's right for you supposed to be dismissive, but sometimes you do need to be willing to hear them out. Even if you know that your decision is final, giving them the opportunity to voice themselves in certain conversations, it is important. Or even if it might not be you, giving them the tools that they can seek answers, as well as do some research is important as well.
Annie Griff says, go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Annie Griff says, I do things as an adult that I have to check myself for. When my son snaps at me, I have to see how I snapped at him before. Yeah, because children can be a reflection of you and how you've dealt with them. Now, people will see that happen, and you know, old school, If you even make your face up, you just cussed your mother. You know what I'm saying? Like, times are
Right.
changing and children are different, I'll say, because the times. So it's a tricky thing. And again, there's no parenting manual. So we sometimes we just need to, unless you see a child out there being physically abused and damaged, and you know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes we just need to let people deal with things the way that they deal with things. Jerica says,
Yeah. I think.
moms who use their children as pawns because they're still hurt and teaching the children the wrong way to handle things, like a higher thinking individual, are continuing the cycle. Can you give us some examples of, like, teaching your child to handle things the wrong way? Like, some people might think that teaching your child to handle something the wrong way looks like sending them back to fight. You know what I'm saying? If they lost a fight or they're getting bullied. So can you give us some examples? Here's a question, and I got bring this when we get back on the air. Should people that do not have children tap in on these type of topics?
If people who have kids, should they listen to this type of conversation?
No. Should people who do not have children even voice an opinion on these types of conversation? Because if you ain't got no children, right, and you start talking about how to raise a child and stuff, people get very defensive.
Yeah, I think that they should. I don't see why not. Because it's not even if they don't have kids now, they might have in the future. They themselves were kids themselves, or they have friends who have kids, or they might recognize the behavior or the pattern, or see what the issues might be, or be willing to be the person to say, hey, I had a discussion, and based on discussion, I could see how maybe we're triggering, so and so's behavior, or so and so is doing this because maybe we're being a little too harsh about certain things. We don't see how our reflection looks in the eyes of our children without actually having those discussions. And as the adults, our say is final, so we don't typically have those conversations with our children.
Right.
So I'm not saying that you should have every conversation with a child. I'm not saying that as the adult, you don't have the final say, because you do, because you're their guardian. But what we're saying is that everyone has feelings, and we have to be able to give them evidence to digest those feelings and present them to us, to be able to learn how to deal with them.
That's what's up. Thank you for that insight. Kita Polian, Kita on the track, says, example, a lot of us suffer from imposter syndrome. Oh man, that was a topic I wanted to discuss because I'm experiencing that all now. Just being transparent, I'm experiencing imposter syndrome all now. Yeah. So, but she says, due to how some parents believe tough love or breaking someone down to build back up builds courage, but it just makes kids doubt a lot of their decisions into adulthood. That's facts, man. Because sometimes you just you take on what your parent says, right? And then it becomes you. You know what I mean? Like, you take it on, and if a teacher or an adult even in your life, or a parent tells you you ain't gonna amount to nothing, then that's what you accept. That happens sometimes. And then if you end up doing more than that, imposter syndrome can set in, where you don't think you belong here. Like, you didn't earn this. Man, that's a great topic. I want to touch on that. I don't think we'll have time to do it this week, but I definitely want to get into it next week, if anything, because we've been growing. We've been growing, and like I said, doing this radio thing is a dream of mine. And sometimes it's like, this thing ain't real. Like, you waiting for the rug to get pulled out from under you, because it's like, wow, I didn't go to school for this. I didn't do no internships or nothing, but here I am with a radio show.
Exactly.
Yeah, we coming back in about 30 seconds. No, but yeah, I want to tap into that imposter syndrome topic next week if we can. So we don't got a topic for next week. Are you tuning in? And if you don't know what imposter syndrome is, That's gonna be a good conversation to have. Gina says, I filter it through my personal experience. I can be accountable to the baggage my child hold from the transition from her father. All right, and we're coming back. That was Prove It by 21 Savage and Summer Walker. Welcome back to a different day with Jah and
Neci.
Neci's back in the building from her nationwide tour. Glad to have the People's Champ back in the building. While you were away, if you're listening on your radio waves, we were having a conversation on the Facebook live stream because that's going to be our first topic of the day. Don't beat us up too bad. I hope I don't get a phone call off of this one, but we're talking about toxic mothers. And we understand, before we get a phone call, we understand that toxicity is not gender specific and it can go to both parents. We recognize that, all right? So that's the disclaimer. But we decided to go into toxic mothering because it's a topic that does not get discussed. Now, in the chat, Jerica has said, all jokes aside, this is a very real issue that isn't talked about much. Why? I have no idea. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, the chat is the Facebook live stream. What is affectionately known as Roe Fm Plus, where you can join the conversation right there live. We'll talk about it as you type it. All right. So why do you think, Neci, this conversation isn't talked about much? Toxic mothers.
I think, I think it's one of those things where you don't want to hurt, your mother's feelings because she's the person that raised you, gave birth to you, and did the best that they could in the situations that they had, raising you. One of the things that we do talk about is we do talk about generational curses that runs in families, and we all know it's a very real thing. But we don't talk about who passed those curses on specifically. And it can be your mother or it can be your father, right? Or, your grandparents or your, grandmother, grandfather, and so on and so forth. But it's either a male or a female that's creating that toxicity that is being fed into the next generation that they now have to manage and deal with to avoid feeding it into their next generation. So we just kind of, specify that it's going to be toxic mom. Yes, we know they're toxic dads. We're not dismissing that. We totally are aware. But we wanted to touch on the topic very briefly. As you said, it's not a very broad topic that's discussed.
Now, for me, I could feel the tomatoes getting ready. But for me, the reason why I believe we don't talk about this topic as much is because I believe that there are double standards, right? There's double standards that work for men. There's double standards that work for women. When it comes to stuff related to children, women get the benefit of the doubt. That's off the top, right? We just automatically assume if you see a mother with children, she's doing the best she can and she's a great mother. The inverse or the reverse is not true for fathers. If you see a dad outside with his children playing and stuff like that, it seems like it's something out of the norm. So when it comes to women and mothers, I believe, this is just my opinion, this is not Roe FM's opinion, I believe that women get the benefit of the doubt, and that's one of the double standards that works in y'all favor. And also, women have better publicists, right? Y'all have the fact that you literally bring life into this world. It's a big deal. You are the executive producers of life. So you have that. Men do not have that. Like, we can't bring that up. You know what I'm saying? So I think we don't talk about bad mothering and stuff like that because, one, double standard works in your favor. Two, if you talk about a mother, there'll be too many people who know or will think back to how their mother sacrificed for them and stuff like that, that they'll try to negate your negative experience with your mom because it's such a visceral reaction to hearing something bad about a mother that they won't even receive what you got to say. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And Adrina asks, what do you mean by toxic? Nisi, can you explain again what we mean when we say toxic mothering, toxic parenting?
Well, toxic mothering or just toxicity on a whole, I'm not going into the Webster's definition, but it's technically an unhealthy, it's something that you find unhealthy to your mental, emotional, physical, or emotional well-being.
Mhm.
So if you find that it brings you a detriment to your life in any one of those aspects, and it's a continual behavior that you know that is chipping away at your ability to thrive better or to be of the best version of yourself or to be healthy. It's definitely toxic. We all know if we see a can with a circle with a skull in it with a line through it, we know that that container contains something toxic that we should not use or we should not touch because it could affect us in a negative way or to our death, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just generally, that's really what we're trying to, address today is the aspect of how the toxic environment that some of us, because not all of us, some of us were privy to or raised in has affected us negatively and how we're trying to deal with that as adults and try not to impose that on our next generation of kids as well.
Now I'll pose a question back to the chat. Why do you believe this conversation isn't talked about as much? And when you relate it, when you try to compare the two, because there's two sets of parents. When you try to compare the two, mother and father, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mother's Day is in the top three, if I'm not mistaken, the top three lists of holidays. I think Father's Day is like top 20 something, right? And then when we look and we see how much is put into marketing for Mother's Day compared to Father's Day, Mother's Day is geared towards relaxation, giving that mother, that deserving woman time off, a break and stuff like that. So a trip to Dubai, all of that in it. When it comes to Father's Day, the gifts are geared towards he need to get to work. You get a tool set, you get, a grill set, something like that. You need to go do something. You get what I'm saying? Like, if you just look at that day, if you look at the fact that mothers now, they have such a thing as a push gift. So once you have the baby, you have a push gift. You get maternity leave at I don't know if it's most places. I can't say most. Maternity leave is a thing. Paternity leave sounds crazy. You know what I mean? Like what he need leave for, which I understand because she just brought a human into this world. She sacrificed her body and she's tired. And 9 months, 9+ months of having a young human inside of her, it took a lot out of her. If you mention paternity leave, you're summed up. You know what I'm saying? Like when you compare the two, I think it adds up how society-wise, like fathers and mothers, we're not on the same podium, I think. Like there's a first, second, and a third place. I think fathers fall in third behind grandparents. What do you think?
I can agree with you on that. I think how the hierarchy of the whole system was initially set up eons ago was the male go out to provide the income and the wife, the moms or the wives stay home and raise the kids. And, in that aspect as well, so the parenting was primarily left to the mother as well as the taking care of the home. So based on that, it's just the moms are deemed on a higher scale for Mother's Day versus fathers. Not saying that fathers should not be on a higher scale. Not saying that we don't have amazing dads in our community that are definitely doing what they're supposed to do on a high level, and we appreciate and respect all of you in our community. And we just wish we could multiply you guys on a high volume to be on the same level as mothers. But just like how we have high performing moms that are doing things that set in the bar extremely high with raising our kids and raising kids and even raising other people's kids and doing what they do in the community, there are mothers that aren't. And there are mothers that have kids, but that's the most that they probably participated is they gave birth to these kids. They were never the motherly type. And we do have people who aren't very motherly or mothering.
True.
And we can definitely speak on that growing up. I'm sure someone can have examples where they've seen someone who don't have a good mother or the motherly type. I think, Ayana Banza said something the other day. She said she was never a good mother, but she was a good father.
Yeah.
Because she provided for her kids. She made sure that the bills were paid. They had a roof over their head and so forth. But she didn't do a lot of mothering, which is nurturing and loving into and pouring into her children in a nurturing way. And so sometimes, not taking away of what you did with the timing or not the timing, but you did what you had with the capabilities that you had, to provide for your kids in the capacity that you have. It doesn't take away from the fact that it may have a negative impact on the child or children, or it may have.
I wish I had pulled that clip because that was a great clip. The one with Iyanla Vanzant. She was talking about how she was a terrible mother, but a great dad in terms of she provided, she gave them everything that they needed and whatnot. Do you agree on those roles? Do you agree that it is up to the father to provide and take care of the family as far as their lifestyle, and it's the mother to provide the nurturing?
No, I don't agree that that's his sole responsibility. I think that because of how, like I said, the hierarchy of the situation was set up that way from the jump, where men were the only ones that were able to go out to work. Women weren't allowed to work. Women weren't allowed to even have bank accounts. I think it was like 1980 something, or was it 70 something? Women were allowed to have bank accounts without their husband's signature. Like that's fairly recent. We were born when this happened, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So that happened fairly recently, where women were allowed to go have their own bank accounts without their husband or having a spouse.
We weren't. Don't put me in this one. I was not. I was not born yet at that era.
No, I think it was in the 1980s. If I'm not mistaken, it maybe was in the 1970s. If it was in the 70s, of course, yes, no, you weren't born yet. But if it was in the 80s, you were born. Okay?
Hey, ease up. Ease up. Go ahead.
But that's a very realistic thing where women are now in the society of trying to break barriers, and we're still trying to break barriers in 2024 of things that we have yet to accomplish that men have already.
True.
So I think nurturing is a parental role. It's not a maternal role only. I think it's both parents are responsible for pouring into children and feeding into them. I think that the providing is for both parents, because if something happens to one person, then that's also the other person. You have to be capable of providing double duty. But it's better, or it's more balanced or easier when you have someone to double duty with. It takes the 100% responsibility off of you. And when you don't have someone to double duty with, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you, then 100% of everything falls into your lap. And then you have to decide what supersedes what, or what prioritizes what, in order to know what you have to do for your family or for your home. Because it's not always possible to do everything all at once. You have to be selective at times. And sometimes it might not be the right decision, but it's the best decision that you thought was necessary for your family.
Facts. And I'm of that same mind that parenting, as far as nurturing, loving, caring for your children, that's every parent's responsibility. I think that a lot of us struggle, and it ends up being listed as toxic parenting because we come from a generation where we're just one generation removed, if that, from the generation that was in that, where the woman couldn't work or have a bank account. She could, but it was only certain jobs and stuff like that there. Even going to school was a struggle and all of that there. Right. So we're trying to break those generational curses and end up trying to listen to our children, which back in our day, as a child, you had no say for real. Like one of my parents' favorite thing to say was, "Whatever I say is well said. Whatever I do is well done." Me trying to do that now with children that are more emotionally intelligent and they feel their feelings and they speak out about it, that wouldn't work. You get what I'm saying? I don't know if it worked on me for real because it made me, if anything, more rebellious. You get what I'm saying? Like, I ain't trying to hear that. What? Oh, you infallible? You know what I mean? Like, you God then, or is God and then you? Like, what going on? But yeah, I think we're trying to break those generational curses, learn how to be good parents, and do things differently, all while while learning the ropes of everything. Because every stage of your child's childhood is a learning experience for you also. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. And I think that we don't even sometimes realize until we're adults and we have our own kids how much of that is already ingrained in us that we actually mimic that behavior with our own kids.
Right.
I can personally say that some of the things that I've done with my own kids was definitely toxic. But I've come to a place where I've had those conversations with my kids as well because I've realized that it does impact them. It does play a role in how they get up in the morning and go to school. Like some people don't grow up in homes where they're even, their parents didn't give them hugs or their parents were uncomfortable in showing affection. It doesn't mean that their mother didn't love them. It's just that she was not raised in a way that affection was known in her home. So she didn't raise her kids with affection. And some of us have a problem with getting affection or being complimented from someone because we're not accustomed to that's not ingrained in us from the home that we came from. So we feel uncomfortable with certain things. We don't want to be hugged. We don't want to cuddle or we don't want to this. I can speak for myself as well. Some of it is, we have conversations where it does make you uncomfortable. Telling your kids, I love you every day, making sure that they get the message, giving them a positive message before they go to school so that they know they're going off with a great start to their day. Some of those things we don't realize that those little things are very impactful to kids. But we think that we are doing the right things with making sure we have a job provided and with the things that they need, making sure they have the latest gear, they're going to school with the best. There are other things that they also need to be flourishing as well than the physical things that we can give them. And sometimes we're not just aware that we're missing there's a gap in that area.
Facts. Now, there's something you said that I do want to address. I want to put my little 2 cents in on that as well. But first, I want to get to these comments. These comments, once again, are on the Facebook live stream, coming straight off of the Roe Fm Plus, what we affectionately call it. That's why you should talk to your kids to see where their headspace is at. That's for real. Like, that's just facts. You should be checking in with your children and trying to open up the lines of communication because communication goes both ways. And Keita on the track had said, example, a lot of us suffer from imposter syndrome, which is going to be a topic later on down the line. So tune in if you don't know what that is. Due to how some parents believe tough love or breaking someone down to build back up builds courage, but it just makes kids doubt a lot of their decisions into adulthood.
Yeah.
Jerica says, hell, that's true. Jerica says, hell, I'm struggling trying to raise my mama. Okay. Whatever, Lachelle Liebert says, whatever you put out, you shall receive it right back. So be mindful on how you approach and talk to people. Facts. Annie Griff says, my kid be like, you did this or you did that, and I didn't like it. We did not have that opportunity growing up, but I am trying. That's straight facts. My bottom lip would have been slapped off.
Like, who you really talking to? When you come to tell me what you think like what I do. I don't like it don't happen. Why you coming to check me? Yeah.
Talk about triggered. When they don't say that, I'll be like, yo, am I soft? Am I
Yeah,
soft?
like who
Because
you
I couldn't
talking
do
to?
it.
Who you talking to like that? Yeah.
Listen, wanting to fight a 9-year-old and them thing real, man. That's the thing. Only real parents could say that stuff, though. You get what I'm saying? Like, hey, I don't want to fight you tonight. Only real parents that are really involved can say that, though. You others, leave that alone. We're going to call CPS. Children or children not, all input is welcome in my honest opinion. And what she's talking about is we had posed a question to the chat. Should people without children tap in on these types of conversations? Because sometimes people get upset when they find out you ain't got a child, but you're trying to give up the manual. You know what I'm saying? Adrena says yes, because they have parents and they still need to be able to process their own experience through their adult lens. Teaching your child how to express themselves is you being a parent. You get what I'm saying? They should be able to communicate with you because that's like they spend the most time with you. You can't expect your child to speak out for themselves outside of the house if they can't do it at home. Annie Griff
That's
says,
very, very true.
correct. Why do we do that? I think
You know,
that, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I just think that it's just like you said, it's ingrained. Like if we look at it generationally, like or in our own families, our grandparents, especially the females, they were taught to keep secrets. They were very secretive and
Facts.
very they were very much self-aware of keeping their imagery as well. You don't talk about certain things, you don't discuss certain things because other people shouldn't be in your business or other people shouldn't be aware. But they like to burden you with their burden. So we're taught and raised to keep things to ourselves, or to just we just tell our boys to stop crying, fuck it up, and don't cry and move on. So we don't teach them to process their emotions. And then when we tell the young men to stop crying and fuck it up, then the only emotion that they typically learn is anger because they suppress their other feelings because they were never allowed to express them because it gives us a negative imagery of what a boy crying might be in society versus just understanding that he's a human being that has emotions. And then we end up with these men who are emotionally unavailable or vacant, and then we're wondering why we have so many men like this in the community. We've created them, we've raised them.
No.
And it's just that, and it's a real thing that we're doing, and it's a real thing that we have to be self-aware of, and we have to really be willing to start with at home and making those changes at home.
Correct. Now we have an issue. I think it's worldwide. I would say worldwide with domestic violence. So with what Neci just said, I think we need to take a step back, right? Like, have you contributed to that by shutting down your son's emotions? You know what I'm saying? Like, letting them know that only anger is reasonable as a boy, as a man. We have to take responsibility because these children that are doing all the killings and stuff like that, those are our children though. So where did they learn this stuff from, or where did it come from? So if you've shut down a young man's feelings and emotions and told him young men don't cry, you don't do that, you're supposed to be just screw face or straight face or whatever and monotone, and like, have we been a part of leading to the domestic violence rates where they are? Because we've taught them that the only emotion they're allowed to express is anger, because fear, we don't try and wipe that out. You know what I'm saying? Because he call you out your sleep because he think there's a monster under the bed. Did you shut that down? You know what I'm saying? Like, or did you take that time to teach them that even though you're scared, you can be brave by being scared and doing it anyway? Let's look together. Did you do that? Or did you do the other thing? Like, we have to take responsibility and accountability for our actions in these children that are coming up. Those are our children. Just like Michelle Liebert said, it takes a village to raise a child. It's facts. So is it partially the village's fault? Annie Griff says, I think there's a lot of healing that needs to happen. Single homes, lack of communication, lack of empathy, not knowing what stability looks like for different ages are all factors. For example, I could have punished my 5-year-old and he will forget about it, but my now 13-year-old will be like, you did this last month and I didn't like it, blah, blah, blah. Hey, big up Nakia Francis, afternoon. Happy Sunday. Thanks for coming through. If you just joined the live, please go ahead and share the live so other people can see it. We want more people tapping in and joining the conversation. Keita says, but I do love the fact that my generation, millennials, really take into consideration of how their kids feel and are expressed, because too much of us need therapy now. We've always needed therapy, tell you the truth. I agree with you, but we always needed therapy.
True. Very true. It's just now that we're more willing to, and it's becoming more normal to ask for and seek therapy, as before it was like you had it was like a mental disorder if you went and you got therapy. So people did not want to do it or straight away from it because it was a negative connotation to doing it.
Facts.
And I think, did you say it was Keita that made the point about dealing with kids differently?
Think so. I think
I want to touch that too, because that's a really great avenue. Because for me personally, my 3 kids have 3 very different personalities. For any one situation, I can't deal with it the same way.
Correct.
And when they were small, I dealt with it the same way because I always believe in equality. Like, if whatever happens to one's gonna happen, they're all gonna, like, if they do something, you're not getting a different punishment than this person. But I also know that equality doesn't mean that they all get the same thing. It's just that the punishment weighs the same amount, right? So, like you said, my daughter or my son, I call him my TP because he could be in punishment right now, and I promise you, before 5 o'clock, he's moved on. He will come over here and he'll be like, Ma, what are we watching? And put on the TV and get snacks and we get drinks. And I could be fuming out my ear, but we talked about the situation. There was a consequence for a punishment. He took his consequence and we've moved on. That's him.
That's what's up.
But some of, my other kids, they don't just walk or like move on from the, I have to do other things that I need to do. And as they grew up, I realized that I had to change how that happened because they have different personalities. So I had to cater to that personality for good and bad situations. So that's a really good point. It's not always a one-step solution for raising kids. It's very different because they're different people, despite they all come from you. And we have to take that into consideration.
Absolutely. Even parents of twins will tell you, even the twins get different personalities. They literally come from you probably minutes apart. They were cooked in the same oven and they have the same DNA, but that doesn't dictate your personality though.
Exactly.
Annie Griff says,
we weren't taught about personalities either, so you're not thinking in terms of that when you're raising kids as well.
True. Annie Griff says generational curses started for our people in slavery. Correct. And so did our medical conditions, but that's another topic. Darren says, hola, what going on, Darren? He says, me and a father, but it's a crime the kind of gifts men get for Father's Day. It really is. And ladies, kitty is not a gift. Unless you bring in another one. But I'm going to leave it right there. Keita says, it's not talked about because mental health and or verbal abuse is something that wasn't acknowledged as something that exists, but we having a convo now, so good first step. Thank you. Royal Lewis, I just joined, but I don't want to be third on the podium. I'll settle for second after the mother. The grandparents, I don't know if you could take that spot, my boy. Like the grandparents, especially the ones that are like buy them things and take them places and keep the children. I don't know, bro. I don't know, bro. That second place spot. I don't know. Brown's looking real good if you got some real good grandparents. Darren says, I think we got to stop continuing the patriarchal system. Sometimes men can be better nurturers and mothers can be providers. It should be who is better suited for the role individually. Agreed. And also people can do both. Correct. I would consider myself both if I would become a parent. We gonna find out. Go ahead and lose our water. Darren says, I think it comes to the partnership that both parents taking on and keep the egos out, put the children first. I disagree. Rivera Carmen, the village of yesterday, I have been among elders that refuse to share the wisdom. Huh. What do you think about that?
I think that's part of the problem. The wisdom is meant to be passed on to keep it from generation to generation.
Mm-hmm.
That's how recipes were made. That's how some of these well-off families are still well-off, because it's going from generation to generation. Keeping the knowledge to yourself only suits yourself. It doesn't suit the people who need the information. Because whether you're willing to give it, doesn't mean that it's not, someone else isn't willing to share it.
True.
So
now, to Carmen's point, I think that these elders are different. You know what I'm saying? Like these elders out in a club with you. So I get it. I get it. And we are losing our connection to the past because of the stuff not getting passed down. Now, again, we have to take accountability. Yes, there are some that hold the secrets, but there are also those that don't want to accept. Because how many businesses have closed down and stuff not received because the newer generation don't want no parts of it. So it's a multi-tiered thing. We can't just say, hey, this is the problem, and that's it. Darren says we also have to forgive our parents' generation or older. They don't have the same information we do, and they lived in a different time where survival mode was necessary. Agreed. And I'll pose this question to the chat because we're going on a break right now. With what he's saying, it's true. However, how far does that grace extend? When you have someone that have done you wrong, even if it's a parent, even if it's a grandparent, how far do you extend the grace? And he says, and the forgiveness is for us to not them to note. Exactly. We have to be that change. All right. This is Band for Band with Central C and Lil Baby. We'll be right back. One of these days, we're going to go band for band too, Neci. We're going to get our money up so we could go band for band and M's for M.
Hey. My world tour going to be cool, man.
The world tour going to be lit. We need that via sponsorship. You check?
Yeah, you're going to find me that easy. You got to book me in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday's price is not today's.
Oh, talk to him. Yo, we want to thank everybody that tapped in. We appreciate differing perspectives. So we would never lash out or get in our feelings because you have a differing perspective. We appreciate them because a lot of the times you see someone that disagrees with you and it can let you think about some stuff that you haven't before. So thank the ones that disagree. I'm not talking about the haters that only respond when they disagree. I'm talking about those that tap in with you regularly, but when they disagree, they make it known and you can have the conversation because we appreciate people you could have the conversation with. Darren.
Exactly.
Darren Gain, personal. If you're on the live right now, please go ahead and share this live. We'd appreciate it so more people could see it and join the conversation along with you as well. Darren says, I forgave my father, but my boundaries is up and he will never be a part of my life again. Now, I think we had spoke about this on a previous episode, but whoever thinks that forgiveness means access, unlearn that, please.
Very quickly. Full stop.
Unlearn
Full stop.
it. Forgiveness absolutely does not mean access into your life. You could forgive people, and like Darren said, it's for you, not for them, which means I don't have to go to you and talk to you and ask, hey, can I forgive you? And we don't need to do none of that. You get forgiveness, or you give forgiveness through self. You let it go for you, because you don't want to hold on to a hot piece of iron that gonna burn you. You let it go. But you don't need to go to that person to give it to them. You just do it. And giving them access to your life, that should depend on what you're forgiving them for. Because if I'm forgiving you for thieving money from me, that don't mean I need to let you back into my house.
You sure?
Huh? I'm sorry? If I'm sure?
I guess you could steal another 50 or so. That's all.
Wow. One thing I can't stand is a thief. You take money from me, you can't come around me no more. You crazy? I'd rather you lie to me than take from me. I gonna engage? You crazy. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think, Darren made a point about giving, forgiveness to your parents or whoever, because they did it in the capacity that they could at that time, which we're not disputing. I agree with you. What we are saying is that even though that's what was within their limitations, it does not change that there was toxicity that was embedded into the person who now has to deal with that consequence. So two things can be true at the same time, or multiple things can be true at the same time. It does not dismiss that I do believe that some people did what was best within their capacity, and that's all that they had to offer. And we have to be willing to acknowledge that. But we also have to be willing to say, I have more to offer going forward, because we should be adding to, not subtracting from. One thing I do believe in is being a generational starter, not a generational fixer, where we got to start new things in our generation, and not only to worry about the curses that lies in the family, but create the new positive ones as well. At some point, the positive should outweigh the negative, and that should be the ultimate goal.
Mm-hmm. True. Now, another thing we need to understand, though, is that just because you forgive that person, that doesn't mean that they're going to change. You know what I'm saying? That does not mean that they're going to do anything different. You're forgiving them. That doesn't mean that they're going to make the corrections in their life to change their life. So that's another reason why it shouldn't just come with access. Forgiveness shouldn't automatically come with access. It should depend on the circumstances, what that person has done, what that person is doing, like if you could see change and stuff like that there. Darren says he lives in a toxic cycle, and I'm breaking that curse. And we're back. Yep. Thanks for joining us back on a different day with Jah and
Neci.
I hope you enjoyed that music break. But we were just talking about toxic mothers. Now we're gonna lighten the topic, keep it on children's, but Neci has a bone to pick.
You know what?
You don't?
Twice to throw under the bus.
Is that what this is?
Park, look to see them underneath there, and
Wow.
then said, "Do I need help?" This is twice.
Okay. We got a bone to pick. I'm in there with you.
A bone.
We're
not even picking a bone.
Okay. I want to pick a fight. No, man.
I know you do, but don't start the fight. I know we have my speech already, but then don't be out there pet bowling class in the fight. I just,
okay.
Calm down. We're having a discussion with our community.
Yes. We're having a very good discussion with our community. The last one was toxic mothering. If you missed it, If you miss it because you just tuned in on the TuneIn app or the radio, you can always go back to the Facebook live stream and watch the full broadcast. All right. So first, before we get into this next topic, again, it lines up with children, but it's a different topic. First, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors because you give Roe FM the opportunity to continue serving our community. Sponsors like My Lord Variety Store, they just got in the Vibes Cartel Grabber. You want to check them out. Premier Baby Shop, VI National Guard, Lorraine Chicken Shack, and Via, because you can't spell Via without the VI. All right. Now, why? I'm gonna just let you introduce the next topic. Go ahead, Neci.
So the topic I want to discuss today is that I just have I'm always invested in our kids and what we're doing in the community. And as you know, of course, in the Virgin Islands, we have 3 opportunities to come and join and be a part of us culturally for our carnival season. As you know, St. Croix is in December, St. John is in July, and St. Thomas is in April, May, depending on how it falls. But the one thing I would like to see is, if possible, or what we don't have, is a partnership with the tourism and education to have all the public schools participate in the children's parade. I don't know what parameters are in the way. I don't know why it's not happening. I don't have any information, but I just think it would be so dope to officially have all of our educational schools participate in the children's parade territory-wide. What do you guys think?
So, I don't live on island. I'm in the States. We're broadcasting remotely. So you're telling me that it's not all the schools that participate in the children's parade?
It's not no, all the schools don't participate every year. Some schools do. I know they raise funds to do it, but what I'm saying is I don't know why we're not allocating funds to ensure that all the schools do participate in the kids parade. And of course, whatever additional funds schools may need, they should fundraise for those as well as possible. And, or have donations given to them. And, all these schools have somebody, father, who's a DJ that could be on the road with them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, all these kids, I think, in whatever t-shirt troupe or art class are making, pieces that they can hold up in the sky or whatever. It doesn't have to be an official costume, but something that depicts us culturally to demonstrate in the parade. I think that it would be so awesome. I think that it is something that I would love to see. I could only imagine that the community would love to see it. But I just don't know why it doesn't happen or how we can make it happen.
Okay, well, that's a good question to pose to our listeners out there, the ones in the chat and on the radio and the TuneIn app. How can we, as a community, come together to ensure that all our little ones participate in the schools, from the schools in the children's parade? Because I didn't know this was a thing. I guess I just assumed that they all did. Darren says T-shirt troop should be a thing. He recommended this last year. T-shirt troop would basically just be a troop rocking T-shirts, maybe for the school and decorated or whatever, and they marching on the road. Is that what we're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know why I just assumed that we all, like, everybody was in there. I don't know why. Rivera Carmen says it starts with a committee, doesn't it always? So we have to form one, or there already is one. And we're going to be right back. We got to take a break to pay some bills, but keep it locked right here on 101.3 Roe FM. Neci, talk to them on for a little bit. Explain exactly what's happening, because I'm out the loop.
No, every year I make sure that I do go to cheer on the kids at the children's parade. If I'm not there, it is something extremely important that's taking me away. I do believe in doing that and going to watch them participate. But I have noticed that it's not every school is represented in the parade. and I don't know why. And I do wish that it was. I do wish that it was something as a community that we band together and make sure happens. And how can we do that? I someone said a committee. Is it a committee of a whole, or is it a committee per school? Is that what you're talking about? Is each school has to have a committee to want to be in the parade? But what I'm really wanting to do is not even just a committee. It's like it is just something that there are funds allocated for each school that goes towards them being a participant in the parade. We know it's not free. We know it's not cheap. We know that kids will need beverages and they'll need, music on the road. We know that, the parents are volunteered to have to walk along and make sure they're staying hydrated and so forth. We know it's not an expense-free event. So, of course, they need some funds.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why we're not having like an allocation of funds for each school that they can tap into to start to build ideas for costumes every year. Or like, I suggested a Darren said t-shirts, like they can make an art t-shirt, or they can make flyers and banners or posters that they can hold up in the air of things that depicts the Virgin Islands culture, or, things of that nature. The high schools have marching bands and they have cheerleading groups. They should be in the parade as well. I think there's music. I think both schools have a singing group or choir. I'm sorry, if I'm not mistaken, that should be in the parade. It shouldn't just be costume, but it should be culturally motivated as well. I want to see a variety of our culture being shown through our kids in the parade. It to me the troops are getting smaller for the kids. It's not. It's very short. When once the queens and the little princesses come down, that's majority of the parade for the kids, and I would love to see it build and grow, and we really make it into a beacon of what a children's parade should look like.
Being gonna lie, right? My mind is blown right now. Like I did not know any of this, and I wanna help. Like the last I've seen was people complaining about lack of participation for people watching. And why would you not want to go out and see our babies do their thing? I can't fathom that. But this now is like, I wonder how much the fee is or what you need, because like you, I believe we need to get back to the culture aspect of it, not just a rinky tinky tink tink. Like we need to get back to like learning some stuff when they're coming down the road. You get what I'm saying? Like I don't think it should be that much. I don't think it should be even an issue. And I think the cultural factor, yes, for Children Parade, I agree with you 100%. But we also need to make festival about culture again. Make it all about, like in the village, there should be more, cultural presentations, and what I'm saying, some booths just strictly about history and stuff like that there. And maybe I'm tripping. Maybe they don't want that. I don't know. But
yeah, I don't know. I'm not speaking down on anyone or any organization or what anyone's doing for our community in regards to our current festival, our carnival committees. I'm talking about enhancing the children's aspect of that. And I don't have the information, so again, I'm not knocking on any person or organization, but it is a question that has been bothering me, and I just wanted to pose it. I wanted to see what our community thinks, what information is out there, how we can make it maybe possible to do this, what needs to happen to get it done. It's September, and we're a few months away. So, and we know, ordering costumes and stuff like that for kids is not as simple. There's shipping involved, there's customs, there's a lot of things that goes into that. But I don't want it to be the only deterrent, because if there's funds that are allocated for these schools, they don't necessarily have to wait, you know what I mean, until the school year starts to raise funds and then see how much funds they have, if they can do the parade or not. They already know before the school year ends, like they could be working on the theme beforehand, and then it's just a matter of getting kids signed up and keeping the water sales or whatever they're doing, raise additional funds if they need that to be in the parade. And that's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, we definitely need to look into what that's about and how we can assist. Darren saying it's a tale of the times. We got to realize that parents have to work multiple jobs and not spend enough time with their kids. Them costumes will get paid for them. Carmen says that can be plugged in with the PTA, and it would be nice that funding can be matched or allocated to add this. That would be great. I mean, for the children, it really doesn't have to be that complicated. You know what I'm saying? Like the t-shirt troop and stuff. I like that idea. I would love to hear more about that. Darren says they're too idle. We need more activities for the youth. Absolutely. And we all see what idle minds have been leading to. That's what Carmen says. Absolutely. It leads to violence. It leads to, children getting into trouble. Darren says, thanks for motivating me, Nisi. Time to get to work on my new nonprofit. You get time in between your job, my boy? That would be great, though. What would you call the nonprofit? Carmen says, keep me in the loop with this one. So apparently I'm not the only one that didn't that was just lost, like did not know that this was a thing for real.
Yeah, and again, I say that because I see it. I go to the parade, I'm invested. Right now we're really down to like one major troop. We're down to one Mokujumbi troop. You don't only see one steel pan on the road. You know what I mean? Before you used to have at least 3, 4 steel pans from different schools on the road. I know these things cost money to maintain these troops. I know it's not free. I understand what goes into them. I've been on both ends of this. For other organizations. So I'm not speaking, like there's just not things that are hindrance to it. But I don't know why we're not having a bigger conversation of how we can make sure these kids are more invested and participating in the parade on a different avenue. Because we always talk about.
Let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there because I'm gonna need you to say that all over again. Cause we coming back.
No, I'm not.
Yes. You. Welcome back to a different day with Jah and
Neci.
Now, if you just tuned in, Nisi and I and the Facebook live stream team, we were talking about participation in the children's parade. And this actually goes deeper than what I thought it was going to be. So I'm going to let Nisi take this one away so she could talk about what is going on and what we would love to see happen. Because I wasn't invested until I heard her. Please tell us what's going on, Nisi.
So, so what I was saying is, as someone who actively goes out to the children's parade and, sit and actually watch them, we know that there's always conversations about, coming up to support the kids. But we were more talking about making sure that the kids themselves are being represented on a larger scale and they're actually in the parade from all the schools. I don't see representation from all the schools at the parade. I would love that to be a reality. I think our community should be behind that. I don't know why it doesn't happen. I'm not knocking any person, organization, or any committee because I don't run them and I don't know what it takes behind the scenes to do that. My thought as an observer and as a parent is just, how can we get each of these schools in the parade every year, not just, one off. Is that allocating funds every year to make sure that there's some type of funds that they can start with to plan for being in a parade or whatever they may need to get that going. I would love us to invest more in these kids culturally representing our territory in the parade.
Now, you had mentioned something about a t-shirt troop. You want to tell us about that?
No, I was just saying, even if something as simple as most schools have school shirts in terms of gym shirts with their school logo or so forth, or even getting a shirt made specifically for the parade, having the kids make signs or banners that represent some type of VI cultural artwork or some type of, mentor in our community. We have a lot of great beacons of the education system of our community culturally that they can draw pictures of or so forth. It doesn't always have to just be costumes, you know what I mean? But I think that each school should definitely be represented. We have the high schools that have marching bands, or they should. I think they both still have their marching bands. I think they have choir. I think they have cheerleading. Like we should be depicting our kids on a scale that is reflective of us on a cultural level.
Mm. Now, as far as the cultural level, for me, I think the festival itself should implement more culturally relevant, historically relevant events and presentations and stuff into it. But that's just me. I think we need to focus or refocus. Like the dancing and the fetting and stuff, great. That's what people come to see and do. But I think we need to institute and incorporate more culturally, historically relevant events and presentations into our festival. Like that's what people want. People want the fetting and all of that. But we should take that time to get back to where this thing started for real. Because if we need to be honoring where it came from, because a lot of us don't know, honestly.
Mm.
Like, why are we dancing? Why are we fetting? What are we rejoicing over? I think we need to touch on that there during the festivities as well. So if anybody from, festivals or whatever is listening, please, can we please incorporate more of that into our festivals? But other than that, I'm off that topic. So if you're just joining us, thank you. This is a different day with Jah and
Neci.
So we were just talking about children's parade and the participation and what I did not know, because I'm just now learning from Nisi now, is that apparently not all schools, like it's not a lot of troops anymore, because I remember it was just as long as the adults parade, and now apparently we're down to how many Mokojumbis and stuff you said?
Well, I try to practically see usually about one in the parade. I which is Guardians of the Culture, Jumbis. I typically see the one major troop. If there's more than one, please let me know. I don't typically see more than one or two. Sometimes we have the students from St. Thomas come over, and that's another thing. Like the other schools usually used to come over on a large scale and be a part of our parade as well. That doesn't happen. We know, again, I know it's not free. I know it costs money. I know we have to house the kids if they come over here. Well, not house, because they usually go back the same day, but I know there's cost associated with it.
Yeah.
Our conversation is primarily around why isn't it happening, and how can we make it happen? How can we make this a reality?
Awesome.
And so I don't see a lot of the kids being in the parade as participating. And then of course we always had the issue of lack of support for the kids at the parade as well.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, come out and see your babies, invest in your babies as well. Yeah, we want the whole of the festival to be a success, as well as the islands themselves. So please support, support, support. And if you're listening right now, if you know the intimate details, let us know, correct us, tell us what's going on. How can we help? How can we help as a community? Because we would love to. Now that this has been brought to our attention, I for sure would like to know how, and there's others in the chat also that have said, keep me in the loop. Darren says he's working on a new nonprofit which will be focused on family geared events. The last nonprofit, VI Leaders for Change, ran its course, and I want to expand what we can do. That's awesome, man. Keep going, keep working on that. Aisha says, back in my elementary school days, there was participation from all the schools. I remember being in the second grade and dancing quadrille in the children's parade, and I remember seeing other schools. You had all the queens from the different schools, and you had little school troops, whether they made their costume themselves or the costumes were ordered. I remember there was a time in the children parade when all the schools were accounted for. I guess that's what I remember. So I just assumed that's what was going on. But thanks for giving us the information, though. You see, that's not what's happening.
I remember being in a parade in elementary school as well. I've been in a parade, I think, from elementary straight through high school. I don't think it was a thing that all the schools, I don't want to say mandatory, but it was not, I want the mandatory participation, but I don't think it was like all the schools were actively in the parade every single year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's what happens, and I don't know why that doesn't happen.
Okay.
But I do remember being in a parade as a young, having a costume and making things in art class and, after school. And we had like, it was like your art class where you had like 5 art pieces that depicted the Virgin Islands and you wore it around your body like a, skirt or, it was really fun. And then it taps into these kids in terms of their cultural awareness. It gives them to express themselves artistically. It also gets other local artists involved to come and volunteer at the schools to help them get these things come to life. I remember those things very vividly. Was it mandatory that we had, not mandatory for the kids, but for the schools to participate? No. But I would love to see every year all the schools are in the parade participating on an annual basis. I think that's really what my conversation is about, why we're not doing that and how we can build our community to be there. I think it would just deepen our cultural awareness, our cultural representation that we portray. We're in a society where everything is now live streamed and viewed by millions of people around the world. I think we should definitely be tapping into that opportunity to continually putting our culture on display worldwide. We have 3 opportunities a year to do that. No other island has that opportunity besides us. And I think that we need to expand on that.
And I'm with you. Jerica Jarvis says, what we want are all the things, the feathers, the madras, the culture. That's exactly what it is. And I think Neci explained it beautifully. If you have a disagreement with what she said, please bring it to Jah, because she got a big job she needs to protect. I don't care. I'll quit my job now. So if you have an issue with what she said because you misinterpreted it, bring it to me. Don't bring it to her. We want the culture on display. And the culture means everything, all of it. You get what I'm saying? Not just the feathers and walking up. We want the fetting and the future on display. We want the food, the arts, the music, all of it. Darren says too much feathers and walking up. I don't know if them children be walking up. I ain't been there in a minute. The crazy part is the original festival was to mock and rebel against the colonizers. Correct. And we know they didn't dress like how we dress now, but times change. So again, I think we need to institute and incorporate more cultural and historical events and presentations into festival. Because even as Virgin Islanders, even as native Virgin Islanders, you may not know where things come from, and it's good to continue to educate. All right. Aisha says there's a Moko Jumbi troop from St. Thomas that's been coming over. I think the last 2 parade and Sparkle Light Twirlers Majorettes is making a comeback, so we should see them coming down the parade route this year. Can't wait. And as for the parade route, hey, if anybody listening, Boca Comedy would love to be one of the reporters or the ones covering the parade route. If you're listening right now, Boca Comedy would love a phone call. This is not him telling me to say it. I'm saying it because the dude is dope and he's doing dope things. And I think he'd be a great host. Aisha also says, I actually miss seeing the masqueraders coming down. Those with
Me too.
Whoa.
And the Indians. I missed that. I was dying to be an Indian when I was young. I got the opportunity, thankfully, before they died, but I love to see the live drumming. That was so dope. See, this is what I mean. Like, this is the things that we kind of lost that we kind of could be able to bring back to display us culturally. I'm big up the Sparkle Light. I love Sinclair Majorette, so my daughter was a Sparkle Light when she was young, and I'm glad to hear they're making a comeback.
Raiders. So, so the masqueraders, can you tell us what they used to do, the masqueraders?
Well, masqueraders are usually those, they usually cover from head to toe in different cloth and clothing that depicts our culture, not just Virgin Islands, but our African culture. It's a dance of celebration and tradition that if I'm remembering correctly, please, if I'm speaking out of turn, please let me know. But that's what I remember of it. And they wear either usually bells or on their feet or on their arms. So when they're dancing, it makes, it gives that jingle to them. So they used to be in the parade as well. All you would see is maybe their eyes. Sometimes they portray themselves with like the whip. You have a whip and they would swing the whip around as part of the performance. There was different things that they used to do. But no longer I see that in the parade either, which is a good point. Thanks for pointing that out. And the Indians are no longer in the parade either and things like that. So yeah, I think we can do this and hopefully we can get it done for this Christmas. And if not, we have an opportunity to build on it for St. Thomas and keep it building and keep it moving and get our community up to par because I think we can do it.
Absolutely. Now, go out and support your people. Again, if you're in the know and you know how we could support the masqueraders, the children's parade, and get people invested, please let us know. We're not afraid to be wrong. Let us know if we said anything that's incorrect. If there are more Mukajumbis or troops than we estimated, please let us know. Just tap in with us on the comment section of this Facebook live stream, or you could DM Same Difference as well. Now, you know what we do here. If you've listened to A Different Day with Jah and Neci before, you know we get into topics, trending topics and relationship topics and stuff like that. So that's where we're going next, because we cover multiple things and we want to get our listeners' opinions on what what we're about to let you listen to, right? So next up, I'm going to play a clip for you, right? And I want to know what the listeners think about this in particular, because if we going to tap in also, but we want to know what you think. Hold on one second. Let me pull this up.
I've never met a girl that I like enough to where it's like, I would love to hang out with you just as a friend all the time. Never. I don't think so. Whoa. So you don't have any girlfriends? Well, it's like, what do you classify as a friend? Like, you're my friend. Yeah, we hang out a lot. I guess I'm kind of the same. I have girls that I'd say are my friends, but none that I hang out with all the time. I don't know if that's me, like, just perceiving that relationship in a weird way, or, it's hard to be friends with the opposite sex. Because sex is going to ruin it. Yeah. And the odds of you, it's like, and what do? Just exclusively pick girls to be your friends that you find ugly? Like, Jessica, you're my friend because I'm not attracted to you. You, like, introduce her to your other friends that are girls, and she looks around, she's like, wait a minute.
I hope you were able to hear that clearly, folks. So the topic that we're getting into is I can't have female friends. As a man, you can't have female friends. Neci, you there with us?
Why do we as women?
All right. So, all right, I'm gonna let you go first, right? Because for those who don't know, I don't have a lot of friends, but I have two best friends, one female, one male. They're both Virgos. So, I'm on the cross. So Neci is my best female friend. We're strictly platonic, but people can't seem to believe it. And I get asked all the time, you're smashing? No, we're just cool. Neci, what did you think about that particular clip?
I think that there's a lot to cover from that clip. What my thought process has always been that when I was in school and growing up, we were always taught to be friends with our classmates,
Mm-hmm.
and our class were never defined by only be friends with the girls or only be friends with the guys. I am not speaking for anyone's relationship or what they want to impose in their relationship. I think that's yours to do. But I think that people do have genuine platonic relationships with people of the other sex that has nothing to do with anything but being friends. Some people obviously use that as a cover to continue to do or to enact in behaviors that are not, true to their relationship. And for that, the deceit can cause, that person to no longer want to be with anyone that has people that are of the opposite sex. But then there's also people who are just genuinely our friends that have no other interest than to be friends. And I don't use the word friend very lightly. I don't use it very often. The friends that I have, and I do have, they've been my friends for eons. Like some of them are decades long, some of them are mostly 10 years plus, and so I don't use that word lightly. And my friends commingle and their spouses, and we all become one kind of family outside of that. So I think that there's a lot of things that go into it. One, your previous relationship or something that happened before that could make you no longer want that stance in your relationship, which is your right to choose. Or two, sometimes it's insecurities about that can happen. And three, there's people who just generally might just be in it for an ulterior motive at the back end as well. So I don't want to dismiss anyone's feelings or why they don't like it. But for me, I do believe that we're capable of having platonic relationships with people of the other sex. We have that conversation with people of the opposite sex all the time for work and our jobs and our interactions. I think that there's a place for that we can thrive in, and there's a place that makes it unhealthy where there's undermining or, ulterior motives, I should say. So that's for me. Me and you were friends. We talk about it. We had a very clear conversation. And we have a clear respect for each other. We don't cross boundaries or disrespect each other. We're very self-aware, and that's how we're friends. Anything outside of that, we're not. It doesn't fall into being friends. We have if I'm talking to someone or you're talking to whatever your situation, they're aware that you're there and you exist, and their person's aware. That's what friends is about, and you're intertwining your life into each other, making it a bigger family. But it doesn't always work. Everyone is always upfront and truthful. We know people have been scarred by things that was supposed to be genuine friendship that really wasn't. And there's a lot that, to consider in it as well, but it doesn't mean that it can't happen.
I think personally, I think it's strange if you can't be friends with someone of the opposite sex. I think that it's strange because, like, I look at you a certain way as a man if you say that you can't be friends with women, because for me that kind of means that no woman is safe around you. You get what I'm saying? Like, nothing is platonic as far as women. So if my daughter and you are the same age, she can't be around you because you can't see her outside of sex. That's the way I see it. Like, any woman in my life is not safe around you. That's just the way I see it. Darren says, I want to call in for this one.
You know what?
No, what do you think? You think we should attempt it? Let him call in and see how it go?
Nah, I think we can definitely expand on this on another day, and we can definitely allow him to do it then. Not today.
Hey, Darren, we gonna touch down. Your boy gonna touch down in like a week or so. Come on the radio with me. I'm gonna be in the studio in about a week or so. Come on the show. Jerica says they're untouched. Levon Nesbitt says you can't be friends if you're attracted to each other or one is. Do you agree with that, Neci?
I agree. If there's an attraction there for the other party, at some point you're going to want to act on it, whichever party it is. And we know some people play the long game. They will sit around and wait for that opportunity to come up as well. And so I don't want to as I said, I don't want to undermine that whole concept because it can happen. It does happen. But people do play games, and sometimes the games create very negative outcomes that hinders people's ability to see things as genuine and platonically as it should, which is work that they need to do for themselves, but it also is a real thing.
If you're currently attracted to the person, yes, I could see why you would say that. If you're currently attracted to them, it would be difficult because they're still living their life and you're just waiting around. So, with that said, though, are we admitting that the friend zone exists?
The friend zone absolutely exists. I think that has been a proven theory eons ago.
Well, there are women that still deny that the friend zone exists, and when you think about it, it's a pretty good argument to say that it doesn't exist because it's like if you and a male, if you and someone of the same sex like are friends, that issue isn't a thing. Like being friends, if you're the same sex and you're not attracted to members of the same sex, it's not even an issue. Being a friend is not gender specific. You get what I'm saying? Like,
yep.
So why is it now that you can't just be friends even if that person is not attracted to you? Why is that? You might be attracted to them, which, I mean, it does become difficult because let's say you're looking for a certain type of person and you find this person, but they're not attracted to you. But they have those characteristics, right? That's how people end up friend zone because they got to know you and they like you. You get what I'm saying? Because mostly when you see somebody out in the club or wherever you see them out and you want them, that's a physical attraction. It's another thing when you get to know them, though. Most people I get to know I don't like. We're gone.
But you don't like many people.
Correct. But go ahead with your point. Go ahead with your point.
I mean, no, you make a point, but some people don't always accept it because feelings is something that can go and come back, right? Mm-hmm. Even if I get to know you and I don't like who you are as a person, that doesn't mean that the person won't smash them. You know what I mean? Like, correct. I don't want to be with you, but I will still take the opportunity to give it to me. So there's still like a difference in the whole, in even if I don't like you anymore, if you give me the opportunity, I'm going to say no. Correct. So that's why I feel like that line is still available to be crossed if it exists. So Darren says, because I have encountered both women and men who have issues with being platonic with opposite sex. That's because they do not see the opposite sex as anything outside of sex, though. You get what I'm saying? Like, for me and you, I see you as like a sister, a bestie. You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't see you in that way. Now, I do understand that as a man, it can be difficult. You get with somebody that's like attractive, like universally attractive, right? And y'all just cool. You may not feel no type of way about her or him, but it's still like, listen, don't treat me like your gay best friend. Like, don't go on like I'm one of the girls, because I'm still, a heterosexual male or female. Like, don't be walking around naked in front of me like you would with your girlfriend, stuff like that. That comes up. Like, don't be calling me, B word or whatever like you do with your female best. I'm still a man, and like, these are issues that you don't have in same-sex friendships. You get what I'm saying? Like me and my male best friend, we don't have issues with how you should refer to me. Like, I don't have to be concerned with him calling me boo and babe. You get what I'm saying? Yeah.
But these types of things, they come up in opposite sex relationships. So there, we have to acknowledge that those friendships are different. And again, as a man, it can be difficult to find a female friend that actually looks at you as just a female friend, not a boyfriend without the extras. Now, what do I mean by that? I have been in situations where I have a female quote friend or best friend or whatever, but she still expect me to open doors. She still expect me to pay for all the meals. She still expect me to do everything that a boyfriend would do, except those, those intimate things, which I think is wrong because you don't do that with your same sex friends, do you? What do you say to that?
Well, I mean, you've been around my female friends, so you know we to be fighting for the bill and all kind of stuff. So we we have a different kind of friendship over on our part. But we everyone has boundaries that they're not comfortable, that they're uncomfortable with people crossing, even in same sex relationships. Like you said, I don't walk around naked in front of my friends. That's not a thing that I do or I would do in front of all my friends. Some people are comfortable with stuff like that. Some people aren't comfortable with stuff like that. You have to know who your friends are and what they're okay with, what they're not okay with. So don't cross their boundaries. Like I don't take my friend who, who I call and, go to church with or whatever, and so I let me go to the club Friday night. She don't go to the club.
Mm.
So why would I be bringing her to a club? You know what I mean? If I tell her, let's go, I want to exhaust something, I want to listen to a motivational speaker or something, she'd be more open to that because that might be more in her wheelhouse versus my friend who might want to be out every weekend. And I'd be like, man, let me go about this weekend. Let me go to church on Sunday. She'd be like, miss, let me go where? So you have to be, not because they're of the same sex, means that they don't have boundaries or they don't have clear lines that you have to be self-aware of. You know what I mean? So I don't walk around all my friends naked, and I might have friends that are okay with me walking around naked. It's just that matter of the friendship, and you have to be respectful of those people. Oh, I respect my friends in that way, that I understand once I learn what those things are, to not take that for granted or to be inconsiderate about it. So, but there is an undermine to it of, like you said, especially with a male and female, where in lines of temptation, if someone continually tempting you with something, at some point you might be tempted to want it. Just like if ads on your phone where they tempting you every time with like a game or something. At some point you're like, want to just download this game to see what it's about. Exactly. They tempted you enough that now you're willing to download the game. Exactly. So I don't want to undermine that temptation isn't a thing that can actually influence people, and that's why ads exist.
Darren says, but I have had dudes. What you say? Of course.
I don't know, but I know he said something. Go ahead.
Darren says, but I have had dudes tell me they think it's weird that I have a lot of attractive female friends and I'm not having with them. There are men that just like to have attractive people around them, period. And that's a thing that we don't talk about. And if you can't have attractive women around you and just be cool with them, what do you think? Doesn't that say something about you? Or I'm tripping? Everybody loves attractive.
What would we say about him if he only had like unattractive people around him all the time? What would we say that?
Then it's because he's trying to outshine them, so you stay with ugly people.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So when tomatoes, win or you lose, draw, whatever you want to call it, do you?
For real. That's all. Because it's very strange to me that would be an issue. You know what I'm saying? But let's put one thing out there first. Everybody likes attractive people. Everyone. Mm-hmm. Like even girls that are heterosexual, they like to see girls that are attractive. You get what I'm saying? Like, so
Mhm.
that shouldn't even be an issue. Of course, you want attractive people. We like pretty things. Like,
Mhm.
uh, uh, people, even heterosexual people, look at their friend groups and they want pretty people around them. That's actually a status symbol. So we have to acknowledge that for real. I had a woman tell me that women would only allow me to have female friends because she's cheating on me or think I'm gay. This is Darren again.
They've only have he only has female. Repeat that from. I didn't catch it quite properly. Say it
I,
again.
I had a woman tell me that women would only allow me to have female friends because, like, if you're in a relationship, that woman would only allow you to have female friends if she
Mhm.
is cheating or they think that you're gay.
Okay.
Gentleman Style Podcast says, so it helps that Nisi isn't attractive to you. She is a very attractive woman. You can see it. Look at her pictures. That's not my problem. My thing is, I don't see her in anything other than a friendship way. That's what platonic means. You know what I'm saying? I could acknowledge that she's attractive. You should be able to, as a woman, acknowledge that your friend is handsome, but that doesn't mean you want to be with them. I should be able to acknowledge the same way that my sister is pretty or my brother is handsome. Do I want to be with them? No, that's incest. I'm not attracted to them in that way. So that is what platonic really means. You don't see them in anything other than this best friend or whatever light. You get what I'm saying? Like, I think I get it. I don't know. Some people, it seems like they get it, the idea of what platonic means wrong.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't mean. Yeah. It doesn't mean that. And I think, and that's a good question. You add gentleman style because I won't say you think I'm ugly because I mean, some I know better, but I know better. I know better. Because I know I'm the star. But I think it's very important to know that you can acknowledge that and still not want to pursue that. Like, it's okay to do that. It's okay to see somebody. If you walk on and you see somebody like, oh, that's a really nice outfit. I like that outfit. Or they make that outfit look cute. Or if they walk like, oh, I like that walk. Or because you acknowledge that person and whatever it was about them, but you're not pursuing it beyond that initial moment. That's it. Like that can really be a real thing. And I think that's fine. For me, I'm very clear. I don't consider anyone that I've had a sexual relationship with as my friend. I don't call those people my friends. I don't. If I say someone is like Jah is my friend, me and Jah are just friends. And that's the end of that. There's a clear difference for me when it comes to those type of situations. So you will never be in a situation with me where we're out and you be like, oh, well, I thought you said, you and Dad just friends and so just tell me I used to date for like 2 months, 25 years ago. That will never come up because it will never be real. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But people do that and don't give the person all the information they need to make an informed decision. They be like, oh yeah, that's my friend, but really, we used to mess around like 6 years ago. Okay, but you left out that part when you said that's your friend. Oh well, we're just friends now, so it don't really matter. It does matter to your partner. And when you start off things like that in that type of way, it starts to raise questions for them, and then you start, and you don't want that to be a hindrance in your relationship. So I think it's okay. I think it's fine. I think that people should have more platonic relationships. I think it's just a cycle of life. You're just friends with who you're friends with. You know what I mean? And once it's truly, genuinely that way, it's okay. If someone you're dating doesn't like that and you're okay with that, that's okay too. You made an informed decision because you're aware, and nothing's wrong with that.
Now, we need to make a distinction. There is a distinction between acknowledging that someone is attractive and saying that you're attracted to them. There's a difference. Like, yes, we as humans, we're visual. We can see, right? That's why I don't like the terminology, I don't see color. So what do you do when you get to a red light? That's not true, is it? No. I can acknowledge that someone is attractive. That doesn't mean that I'm attracted to them. I personally am attracted to who the person is, as opposed to their looks so much, because looks is something you didn't do anything to get that. You just came out that way. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean anything as far as relationship. Yes, pretty and handsome are good to have. That says nothing about who you are, though. You are pretty, you are handsome, but that's not who you are. That's not your character. So keep that in mind. Shay Bird, Big D Shay in the building. She said that's like when women treat their sons like their men. Taryn says when I talk Taryn says when I talk about Virgos, nobody stop me. Hey, this why I don't tap in on them things, because like I said, I have two best friends. They both Virgos. Libras and Virgos just get along on that level. I don't know about relationship, but friendship, we cool. There is Summer Rain says there is also a mental maturity to it also. Correct. Because when I was younger, peer pressure made a difference. And I was just trying to sleep with whatever. I was just trying to get my numbers up. I was trying to put numbers on the board. After you get more mature, and after you've gotten more experiences under your belt, you recognize that those casual situations, they don't mean anything in the long run. When you look back on them, what do them one night stands do for you? What you look back and you realize, okay, so I messed around and messed up a friendship that was real. It was legit because I wanted to be intimate with this person. And then what? Where are they now? You get what I'm saying? Like you look more towards the future when you've gotten older. When you're younger, you think you're gonna live forever.
So, yeah, I just want to know, put the message in you and don't DM me. I didn't check my DMs after it because maybe I'm missing something. I don't know about that.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
You said it'd be like asking you about me, and I'd be like, they don't ask me.
So anyway, Darren says, I would say I have become friends with some of my exes and it evolved to be platonic. My personal belief that love can transform and I can't see myself hating someone I once loved. You better than me. I can't talk to you after. Jericho says, you have some great commentary over on the SD Live. Oh man, what? Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Why? So wait, I am the SD Live. Where is it? It should be on the stream, I would think. Oh man, so I'm missing out on great commentary. That sucks. I don't know how, because it's all supposed to be integrated, but okay. So we think about what Darren said. Being friends with your exes and whatnot, and y'all just friends now. Well, I think you already made that clear. You don't do that.
I don't call them my friends.
Okay. What do you call it? What do you call your exes? You say exes?
Moving along.
You don't have exes, you have wives. Why did I do that? Why did I mess with you? That's what you got? Okay. I see what we do. All right. So
you can't have exes when they all want to come back. You know what I mean? Anyway.
You see, this why Darren to talk about Virgos like that, because they're very braggart. They think man.
Sorry.
If you got a pedestal, just know that a Virgo is on it. You check what he's saying? All right. Hey, this is your last week before the big event. Same Difference and Friends 2. The big 2-night event. First night is gonna be at 55 Lounge in Christiansted. We covering the east to the west. It's a live podcast show. Live podcast show is gonna have none other than Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast. He's coming through. We got Dan Moody coming all the way from St. Thomas. He's the messy guy from Facebook, is what it'll call him. We get my co-worker and friend, DJ SI, gonna tap in with us. And we got everybody's soon-to-be favorite mainlander, Raven Scott, is coming through to show her perspective. Everybody loves her insight. Guess who's gonna be moderating? The people's champ, Jah Neci, gonna be moderating both days. And of course, you got me, Jah, the host of Same Difference on a Different Day. And then day 2 is gonna be a multi-generational town hall. We have the likes of Diane Prosper, Positive Nelson, Genevieve Whitaker, we got Gary Norman, and we have Saida Carter. Both of them last two are career educators, and you got to come and see and talk to these people and get out there. We have live entertainment. We got Moko Jumbis for photo opportunities. We got food. We got music. We got a fire breather out there. So come through. And the tickets they start off at how much? $22 for one day, $36 for both nights, 7 to 9. The second night is going to be at Levels for our town hall. Go ahead and tap in with us. But we got to go. This has been a different day with Jah and
Neci.
We'll see y'all next Sunday.
Bye.
Chat, what's good? What I think about the episode, man? Aisha said we don't think we know, right? Tanisha, is she talking about Virgos right now? That's what she's talking about?
Period.
Nobody likes y'all, man. I thought Libras are bad, but people really don't mess with y'all for real. People do not like Virgos.
They hate to love us, but they can't help but to.
All right. Anyway, if you're in the chat, please go ahead and share this live. Go ahead and tell your people about a different day with Jah and Neci. We're going to be here every Sunday from 4 to 6. If I'm not mistaken, next Sunday I should be live on the airwaves. I'm trying to go to brunch, so I don't know if I'm going to make it on the airwaves. I might be drunk. But go ahead and tune in. Tell your friends about us. We love you guys. Thanks for tapping in. Every single person that tapped in on the live, we appreciate you. Go ahead and share. We'll see y'all next week. Once again, this has been a different day with Jah and
Neci.
we out. Peace. We love you.